BRB UK. Worse teeth, better accents.
Hello, and indeed ahoy hoy. Welcome. This is episode 520 BRB UK. I'm Dan, I'm one of your hosts, and it's a two-man show. Well, actually, it's a one-man and a one-Tim show this week. Me and Coleman got ahead of ourselves last week and promised you, after our two-man extravaganza in the Dan Burton Cole flavour, that it was going to be up to full strength this week, but we lied. We couldn't predict the future. It's just me. And it's Tim. Say hello, Tim.
Coleman may return before the end of the episode. We can't necessarily promise that, but we hope that to be the case. But I'm not at full strength myself. Yeah.
No, Tim is viscous.
Yeah.
Tim is very, very viscous.
For anyone benefiting from the video side of the podcast, I don't recommend it this week because due to illness, I kind of look like, and it's a shame it's not the Christmas episode because I kind of look like a mixture of Santa and Rudolph at the moment. They had a bit of a romp at the Christmas party, maybe, and the end result is me.
Whoa!
Shiny red nose.
Whoa!
Beard.
You know, because
White
what with the working from home and owning your own business, the Christmas party rather implies that you're just, pleasuring yourself sat on top of a photocopier, and that's a mental image no one really needs to have.
No.
So Tim, bless him. You know that scene out the first X-Men movie, or maybe it was the second one with the evil senator,
right?
Who
yes.
melts.
Yeah.
Kind of like what Tim's like.
So the
really.
first one, I think,
slowly
it's the first
translucent one. As he turns into. I think it was the first one.
Yeah.
As he slowly turns into a big old ball of mucus.
That's me.
Nice.
Mucus ball.
That's Tim. Yes. So in the true spirit of the way we record things around here. For all of you expecting to get some juicy Video Game Awards news, that is happening this evening when we're recording. So look into the future because we haven't.
I mean, we
passed the
can.
channel, so apologies.
It was nice that it was a slightly trimmed down and they'd listened to feedback and trimmed down the award show this year. And that big surprise, ooh, that was surprising.
And Jeff Keighley. When will he ever stop? I don't know.
I mean, I like the Game Awards. I'm quite excited for it. If I wasn't so ill, I'd be more excited for it. But I'm kind of looking forward to it. I'm keen to see what they've got to show. Don't think there's been many leaks or spoilers, not that I've seen so far. So I'll be keen to see what they actually do.
I know there's a Destiny 2 Lightfall new trailer. I know that much.
Ooh, I'm hoping for some PSVR 2 goodness, but we'll see. Hopefully.
Well, of course you are.
Yeah.
Of course you are.
Yeah.
You just hope for that every single day.
I mean,
regardless
yes.
if it's a video game show.
Yeah.
Like, yes, give me more VR. Please. Plug it into my face.
Although not at the moment. I don't want
so,
anything else plugged into my face with all the mucus coming out.
No,
so,
probably
yeah.
not.
No good.
Lovely. You don't actually, it doesn't cover your nose. If you're wearing a VR helmet and it's covering your nose, you're probably doing it wrong.
I mean, it kind of does. Kind of sits on top of your nose.
Can still breathe. Can still, unless you've got mucus coming out the top of your nose.
Got those flaps that sit either side of your nose on the PSVR 2. Or on the PSVR.
But that's not in the way of the onslaught of mucus, is it? You freak.
I mean, you try and blow your nose while wearing a VR helmet, Dan. That's all I'm saying. They are not
fine.
good
I just don't
bedfellows.
blow it into the VR helmet. All right, okay. Well, first world problems, everything. So, I mean, what that does mean is that we were originally going to talk a bit about Callisto Protocol, because that's a game Coleman's been playing. I must admit, after seeing the early news about how Mustard, yes, Colonel, seeing how it was performing and just some comments on the game itself, I've decided to hold fire until it drops in price. I might just wait until Dead Space comes out and just go, wicked, Dead Space, the OG.
I mean, possibly. I'm kind of more interested in seeing what the Dead Space team moved on to than
Dead Space
team moved on to. I just wish. It seems like they rushed it to...
The sixth member of the Spice Girls for all you necrophiliacs out there.
It seems like they rushed Callisto Protocol to get it out ahead of Dead Space. And I don't know that was necessarily the right move. I think they could have gathered more interest on doing it the other side of it. I mean, it must be difficult setting up a new company and making a game during, COVID and lockdown era, and that being when you're setting up a new company, and that must be difficult, and they might have financially had to get it out in this time period. but I kind of wish they waited. They did say that there was a load of technical issues that occurred because someone was rushed into updating the file just before launch and updated the wrong file so that it was even more glitchy than it should have been.
Yeah.
And it's just like, guys, could have maybe paced yourself a bit better.
That was a particular, I think, initially that tended to affect the PC version.
Yes.
Where it was all about shader pre-caching.
Right.
And basically that means that a game ships with some of its lighting and shader effects pre-processed.
Right.
So it doesn't have to
Process
render those on the
yeah.
fly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like kind of getting stuff. That's why it was chugging.
Right.
And it will only chug the first time it has to generate those shaders. But even so, they miscompiled it. But anyway, so I mean, well, if Coleman can't sneak in the back door this evening, I'm sure we'll talk about wax lyrical about it next week.
Be the case,
and
yeah.
all I've really been doing, I was having a look through because we've got the end of year goodness coming up soon, ladies and gents. And I noticed that I actually hadn't played one of the games I was really looking forward to. So I've been catching up on my pile of shame, and I managed to find on cdkeys.com, other CD Keys sites are available, I managed to pick up Horizon Forbidden West for £22.
Ooh. See, for that price, I might have bought it as well, possibly. But yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so I'm starting to have a go through that. And it's all I'm going to say is that it's
okay.
Playing it so close to God of War.
Yeah, probably not doing it any favours, yeah.
Probably not doing it any favours. I mean, you know, I'll get into it a bit further, but it's not grabbing me like I thought it would. But and I think that's the general note of many a review on it. So
yeah.
But Tim, you have been playing some actual new games.
I have.
And the one I'm particularly interested in is Marvel's Midnight Suns.
Right.
Because that's like the X-Men con.
I was going to do
want
that
the better way of putting it.
to be honest. But,
You're going to do that third?
Yeah.
All right, okay.
I'll keep you in suspense for now. Just quickly, I wanted to mention that I'd finished off the Dark Pictures Anthology, The Devil in Me, which a couple of weeks ago was the game that I was playing for review. So just as a note there, I did get a review copy of it. But I did enjoy finishing off the game, despite getting to the end of the game, having killed all of the people involved. That may be the way it kind of goes near the end. I'm not sure if there's a way out of that, but I definitely got the bad ending. And then I tried to restart and do a little bit of the last couple of scenes again to see if I could get a slightly better ending, and got a slightly worse ending. So that's something.
So you unfixed it even more.
Yes. I made it so everyone died even worse. So, you know.
How was it? Because, I mean, I think it didn't review as well as other entries in the anthology.
I'm wondering if Dennis Pennis doesn't translate as well as a headline act as much as he would here. And is it Paul Kay? I keep on forgetting his actual name. And Dennis Pennis sticks in my head easier than that. But I really quite liked his involvement, and it's a shame he died earlier on in my game than I would have liked. Some of the other actors, I think it's one of those things where it's probably run its course a little bit now, and I'm a bit surprised that I'm not too surprised that they're changing the formula up a little bit in what they're offering with the sci-fi thing that they kind of teased at the end. So it'd be good to see if that kind of adds a bit more to it going forwards. Although the horror sci-fi area is a bit crowded now, as we alluded to with Callisto Protocol and other things. So it'll be interesting to see. That might hit well when it comes out. I really enjoyed the series. I had a friend of mine this week actually asking about the games and asking if they were like all worth playing or whether there was a particular point in jumping in. And I think he'll really gravitate towards these games, and so they're all worth picking up for him. Like, they're doing a bundle deal where you can get the whole lot. And I think if you were interested in Until Dawn previously, like, the bundle deal's not bad. I think it's like 60 quid for all of the games. And I think there's quite a lot of game in there as well. So I can understand how people don't necessarily take to them. They are that very cinematic storytelling kind of watch along and then occasionally get to take control. And some people don't like that aspect to them. But I quite like the blending. I don't need my video games to just be a video game. It has to be video game. And I quite like the blending of the worlds between video game and movie. I like movies, I like video games, and I like all things in between. And so, yeah, like I quite like the series in general, and that The Devil in Me I thought was a good, enjoyable entry in the series. So, yeah, and makes me want to go back and play the other one that I missed. So, yeah.
Fair enough.
Won't say too much more on that because we've already covered that before. I did want to also mention a game that I've been enjoying that I was playing on Xbox Game Pass, which should be available to everyone now. It is available on a variety of other platforms. A game called Soccer Story. Now, I know...
Is it coming home, Tim? Is it coming home? Is it coming home?
Maybe for France. But yeah, I'm not sure we're going to get past France. I would love it if we did, but I'm not entirely sure that we
I was talking more about Soccer Story, but I'm always happy to hear your thoughts on the World Cup.
On the World Cup, I thought I'd mention it. But yeah, I also think it's a good time to actually release a football game at the moment. Especially if you don't, like me, not particularly wanting to support the official FIFA product because A, FIFA, and B, selling money to taking money from children.
Say,
but you know,
FIFA are outdoing themselves this year with just the sheer corruption and just general distastefulness of the whole thing.
I don't know if you've seen that there's a whole FIFA Uncovered documentary on Netflix. It goes into things in quite a lot of detail.
Yeah, I'm going to watch that this weekend.
It's worth doing just for the sheer audacity of what's going on with it. But also, someone reminded me, and I think they made a really good point, that FIFA have been corrupt for a very long time. Like, this isn't like, and it's even though it's going back a few years, this is an on-running thing. Sepp Blatter is one of the most corrupt officials. The whole organization is like, they're so like blazingly corrupt. It's just like, what do you mean? We've always been corrupt. What are you talking about? We've always been this corrupt. Everyone's always taking this much money. Like they're so ingrained and used to it now that I just don't think they see it as a problem. So anyway, but
let's just go. This is normal. Everything is fine.
But it's kind of. It's kind of like been highlighted now because I think America were a little bit bent out of shape from losing their World Cup bid. And literally set out to prove how corrupt it is. And that's where all these charges came from. And Jack Warner is being, indicted and arrested and all this type of stuff. Or, well, I'm not sure they're actually arrested him. But the whole organization is like built on corruption on top of corruption or something. So, yeah, the whole thing is bad.
So it sounds to me like with all this corruption, what you need is a nice cutesy palate cleanser to reaffirm your love of football.
There's not giving any money to FIFA. And Soccer Story does a reasonable job of it.
Yep.
The one thing I will criticise it for a little bit is it is almost brazenly itself slightly derivative of Golf Story, which is a game that we've spoken about on the show before.
So is it made by the same team or not?
I do not believe so, no. Because as we know, the team behind Golf Story is coming out with Sports Story, I think it is the one that they've called, that's the spiritual successor to Golf Story. And yeah, like this is very much in keeping, well, not in keeping, but like very much along the same sort of lines of. It's very much you're wandering around an open world kind of game, and there's lots of soccer mini games, and they do refer to the whole divide between soccer and football at one point. There's two little kids that are arguing about like which one is which.
One of them is of course right.
Protesting, and I can't remember exactly, but one of them's called like Soccer Boy and the other one's Football Kid or something like that. But yeah, like so. But the general setup in the world is that after a big incident, and I can't remember what they call the incident, but there's a name for it. But there's a big incident, and football leads to like a massive disaster, and they don't entirely talk about what happened in the disaster, or not in the early part of the game. But football gets banned. Football has been banned worldwide.
Oh, no.
You can still play...
Oh, no, Tim.
You can still play football golf for some reason, which is just an odd, like, no, you can still do that. That's okay. But football is banned, and you can't form a team and all this type of stuff. And then...
Does that mean, however, that there is the halo benefit of less American football?
Quite possibly.
Have they just blanket
I haven't seen any American football yet,
football.
But that could just be because it's...
All right, let's say...
set in a sort of
Not
Japanese setting kind of idea, or at least Oriental.
So how heavily does it borrow then from kind of other sports games with the word story in it? And is it actually a bit too brazen?
This is the thing. It is a bit derivative. It literally goes, you know that formula? We'll have that. We'll have that formula. Thank you.
All right.
But I mean, it is just like there is an open world. There's a sort of a backstory going on. You are the child of one of the people that appeared in the last like major game where this incident occurred. And he disappeared after that game and hasn't been seen since. And soccer's been banned and no one's played football. But there's still like a whole football stadium at the center of the town. It's just abandoned and no one can play on it and all this type of thing. One day a magic ball turns up. You can basically summon this ball at any time and then use it to interact with the environment in various different ways, mainly kicking it at things or doing other things.
Wow, how original.
Well, there's also like things where you have to like slide into the ball, like do a slide tackle into the ball to knock it into a goal to score goals that way, and there's other things related around.
So you're basically some form of yobbo, just kicking your football into stuff, hoping that stuff's going to happen.
Yeah.
Well, that's a terrible, terrible, terrible example to set for our young children, and I'm very disappointed in this game.
And there's a load of like in-world puzzles. Like graphically, the graphical styling is like nice and simplistic and kind of welcoming, but in a kind of more of a Minecrafty way than the kind of 8-bit stylings of Golf Story.
Okay.
It's not quite as simple as Minecraft, but it's kind of somewhere between 8-bit and Minecrafty kind of graphics. That kind of, it's definitely on that sort of feel of things. The kind of engine under the hood of the like actual football game mechanic is a reasonably fun football game mechanic. You can actually play the matches independently of the game, and I suggest actually doing that before you jump into the game, because then you get a full game of football, and it's a bit slow to build up at first. Like you have to like find your team members and get them to join your team and do some other stuff, and there's lots of other mini games as you're going through the environment. So it's a while before you get to an actual anything resembling a game of football, basically. But you can actually have a go at a few games of football before you jump into the main game, or at any time from the main menu type thing. And I suggest doing that just to get a feel of the actual game. And the nuts and bolts and the kind of general play of that is actually quite good fun and worth playing through. And I think that gives me more hope of playing through the rest of it, that we'll get to that point in playing like fun football games. But yeah, like there's enough there and enough charm and enough style. It's not quite as well executed as Golf Story, and there's a slight level of polish missing. But I think the major thing is that the game of football is fun within it. And then the little mini games and wandering around and doing stuff with your magic ball is quite good fun as well. So I think there's enough there to attract football fans to have a wander around with. And I don't think you necessarily have to be a football fan to enjoy the game, but it will definitely help, obviously.
I mean, I've not heard great things about this game. All a bit samey, and actually some people have even said the football bit of it ain't that fun, and that it can be a bit frustrating with the goalies being, just ridiculously good, that your forwards can't enter the box, so you can't like follow up on a goal.
Yeah, that's standard five-a-side rules, though.
Like,
that's
not
goal. Something that you've seen. Like a lot of early football games did similar things, basically, and it plays like an old school football game, which is possibly why it appeals to me. I would say it's most akin, in terms of modern football games, it's most akin to Mario Strikers and that type of stuff, but without the massive over-the-top stuff. But you can like hold down the button to charge it up and stuff like that. The first few games I was winning like 4 or 5-0. I don't think it's that hard, basically. But again, could just be me. But yeah, as I said, I enjoyed what I've played of it, and I think there's enough charm there to attract and do other stuff. Maybe not the deepest thing, and it's not going to keep you going forever, but if you're looking for an alternative football game during the World Cup, especially if you've got Game Pass and you can access it for free, then do go ahead and give it a go, I think, basically.
Quote unquote free,
yeah. Or for no extra money now,
for no additional incremental cost.
Yeah.
And I believe so it's out on Xbox Series and Xbox One, I believe, PS4, PS5, Switch, and PC via Steam, and I think it's 16 quid-ish if you wanted to buy it.
I would say that's a little high, possibly wait for it to come down in price. But if you see it for sort of half that price and on the Switch, I would say if you don't have access to Game Pass. It'd be a nice little second screen game while you're watching football, and it's a good one where you don't have to, fully concentrate and you can just jump in and out of it while you're watching a match. That's actually quite a good use for this game, I would say, basically. But I'd say £16 is possibly a bit on the high side, basically.
Yeah, fair enough. So like £7-ish is Tim's go for it.
Yeah,
Amount of money,
£6 to £8,
let's say.
I would say, is a fair price for that
£6
game.
to £8.
And any lower,
Fair
then
enough.
jump
Well,
on
I mean,
it. But yeah.
So if you want to play some football while watching some football in a way that doesn't mean you have to actually physically play football, this is the game for you. So, I don't know. I mean, I must say, a bit of me, the fact that they're slightly trying to nick the sport story or whatever, that general kind of naming convention from like the Golf Story guys. To me, it seems a bit disingenuous, and I'm a little grumpy at them with the sight unseen, just because I think they're trying to cash in on something.
You can view that one of two ways, in my opinion. Either you can say that it is so derivative that not actually name checking it would almost be even more disingenuous. But you could also say this is possibly nicking the name from them making a possible sequel themselves. And so that in itself is possibly not a nice thing to do. But I don't know, like you've seen the fact that they've already branched out into a sports story. I can't see them going back to a single sport in the future, so I'm not sure that that's too much of a problem for them. Yeah, as I said, I think it's charming. It's a bit silly in places. It doesn't entirely make sense in a kind of fun and entertaining way. But yeah, as I said, worth checking out. Right, let's get on to the main meat and potatoes.
So, I really want to hear about this game, because this is, for want of a better way, and a rather glib way, X-Men Com. Marvel's Midnight Suns is developed by Firaxis, I believe, who were the original XCOM boys and girls. And
Jake
you're
Solomon
essentially
and
taking and so you are kind of taking a kind of a really like Marvel version of turn-based strategy with some extra kind of collectible card elements to it. And I was a bit skeptical about this, but from what I've seen, I may well try and pick this up in the new year once I've kind of cleared my backlog of shame. And I know you absolutely love these kind of games. So what's it like?
I thought going in that, and my expectations for it were that I would really enjoy the combat, and I would really not enjoy the rest of it. And from some of my descriptions, it may sound like I dislike this game more than I do. So let's preface this up front with the stuff that I'm really enjoying this game. I will continue really enjoying this game, and I will be playing a lot of this game in the future.
Okay, so tell me, what's the general setup here, rather than stuff goes wrong, Avengers rock up, save the world? Is that the plot just summed up right there?
Magic stuff goes wrong. The Avengers turn up, and also the Midnight Suns turn up, and look to set the thing straight. Also, the general kind of setup is it's much more magically based. So, you can see Dr. Stephen Strange taking kind of, a front seat. Also, the Midnight Suns and other characters that kind of fit alongside them, Magic, Blade, and a few other characters that kind of make up their modern interpretation of the Midnight Suns. And they've changed Midnight Suns that used to be SONS. That's what I was looking for.
NS.
To SUNS.
Well done, Tim. That was a tough one. Well done.
Spelling, obviously not my forte.
You are the BRB UK Spelling Bee winner.
Yes,
Congratulations.
Well
that was a tough
Gold
4-letter word.
Tim.
It's very tough. I mean, you've got the reading age of a peanut, but God bless you.
But they've made that change to make it a bit more inclusive, and that kind of made sense with the roster of characters they've added. But then they've also added a few more definite, like, recognizable Avengers to make it more appealing on top of that as well. So you've got Iron Man in there. I haven't got to him yet, but it looks like Hulk will probably be there. I've just gone and rescued Spider-Man after he rescued me. So he's part of the team now as well. And so it's a kind of a slightly mixed bag, but it's also with a heavy magic leaning, and the main character and main story comes from a character called Lilith, who you may not have encountered before if you haven't really ventured into the magic side of things of Marvel. But Lilith is very much in the kind of Scarlet Witch and Agatha kind of thing, and that's all very much a major part of this. Your player character that you play as is a new character that they've invented for the game called the Hunter. You are either the son or the daughter of Lilith. Lilith is the big bad in this, basically, and you are someone that had previously defeated Lilith and put in her a slumber for like 300 years and have been resurrected to do so again, basically.
It's so the usual kind of stuff, it's Tuesday, stuff's going sideways, there's a 300-year-old sorceress who's been reanimated, that's you. And you got to go and sort the world out. So,
no, your mum's a sorceress.
Right, okay.
Like, that's not an insult. Like,
right.
that's the setup.
I was going to say, are we just going to get into really obtuse your mum jokes?
And, like, you, in my case, I am the redheaded daughter of Lilith.
Are you?
Yes.
Good for you, Tim.
Yeah, a little good.
Good.
And I don't know why I felt, because there was, like, strong female characters. There's the caretaker, who is, like, the person that kind of the Professor X character to the X-Men. She is to Midnight Suns, basically, so she kind of is the one that pulled everyone together and set everyone up. But she is the sister of Lilith, so your auntie, basically, and she's the one that kind of guides you through everything and has put the team together and that type of thing.
It's like a bloody Greek tragedy, this is ridiculous.
Yes. And so, and I just felt with those two strong female characters, it worked better as a female character. I often play female characters in some things as well, like Mass Effect and all that type of stuff. So the general setup is that you are their son or daughter, and you are doing what you can to battle Lilith again and take her down.
Okay.
She's got some nefarious plan that Hydra are somehow involved with, and you're battling Hydra.
Of course they are, the cheeky scamps.
You're battling Hydra forces and some of the heroes, well, not necessarily heroes, but villains and other heroes in the universe that Lilith has corrupted. So the first one you're battling against as a boss is Venom, and I've seen from other things there are other heroes like Corrupted Hulk and other things that you are battling as you go. Also, Venom is announced as one of the released DLC characters upcoming that will be added as playable characters in the future. But for now, they're a boss that you're battling, basically.
So it's kind of the basic setup then, that you're kind of collecting these characters and then you decide which superheroes you want to take with you for each mission. Is that kind of the setup, or does it like force character choice on you?
There are some forced character choices depending on the mission. Like the mission that I just did, because I was battling Venom, I had to take Spider-Man with me. Although the essential setup there was that I was actually going to rescue Spider-Man and he joined the team. But then there was just myself, the Hunter, and Blade, basically.
So Spider-Man was like, well, since I'm here, I may as well, I suppose.
It's teams of 3, but it will pick those teams for you. You have to have your main character, the Hunter, on mainline story missions. So on that mission, I had a choice of, I could take one character with me, and I chose Blade because he's a bit of a badass, and he gelled well with my other things as well. But as your Hunter player, you're like you've got lots of offensive moves, but you've also got like healing moves as well. So it's quite useful to take the Hunter on those main missions. But you can have other characters, and when you go on like side missions, you can pick any 3 characters, and they don't have to be the Hunter. But I find it's quite useful to have the characters, if you're not going to take the Hunter, have characters that can heal themselves. So, for instance, Blade has a lifesteal move where he can stake people and take a health from them, and other people that can heal themselves a bit as well, basically.
So one of the things that kind of, obviously I suppose XCOM had, obviously you had different classes of characters with different move sets, and I suppose this is something I'm a little intrigued about with this game, especially having sunk a bit of time into like Marvel Snap, is like, how does the kind of card collecting and the randomness of that feature into it? Because presumably that I could see how that would add interest, but also like if you're a hardcore XCOM fan, you might find that frustrating that you can't rely on certain moves being available.
Yes, but I think it mixes up that. I was a bit worried about that going in, but I like my card games anyway, so that kind of helped me being appealed to it. But you can negate a lot of that luck element. Like you get some redraws where you can redraw cards, even though there is some luck to it. The fact that you can negate that luck by not only redrawing in battle, but also the setup and the cards that you put into your pool of cards to begin with means that there is a lot of strategy to the setup of your deck and to in-game moves and how you play. There's also other cards that will be like, if you play this card at this point, you redraw more cards. If you play this type of card, it will draw more other cards of this certain type. So there's a lot that you can do to negate the luck and to circumnavigate the possibility of being stuck in a position where it's not feeling tactic. All the fights still feel that they've got a good degree of tacticalness to them, basically.
So you're not at the whim of RNG.
Yeah,
time,
and the way you upgrade and change the cards, like I'll come to the Abbey, which is the kind of hub world thing where you're exploring and going around. But in combat when you're in the Abbey, there's different things you can do to upgrade your cards. But you need multiples of those cards to upgrade. So you start with you mainly start with like 2 of each type of card in your deck. But as you go, you might find and discover more cards, add one of those to your deck, and then you use one of the existing cards that you just took out of your deck to upgrade the one that you still have remaining in your deck. So there's a nice tactical element to that, and actually it means that getting doubles of cards is actually quite good because it means you can upgrade the card in your deck. So it means that discovering a new card is always a good thing, basically. And there's a variety of different ways that you can discover cards. The main mechanic for doing that, though, is that you get like a particular coil thing in a mission that you can then go and get Tony to turn into a card upgrade for you, basically. It will just tell you which type of character or which character or a selection of characters that will give you an upgrade card for.
How do the cards work? Is it just you can play all of the cards you get dealt, or do they have like a certain cost and you can keep some in your hand? Is there that side of it as well, or is it literally every turn you get a brand new set of cards and you just got to go with what you get?
You tend to draw cards, but you can leave cards in your hand for the next turn so that you can use them later down the line. So there's a tactical element to that as well. But certain cards require a heroic value to play them, and you have to get to that value by playing other cards to be able to and they tend to be the ones that have got like really big moves. And then some of them, like there's one in particular with Ghost Rider. He's got a really powerful move where he pulls out his car and runs over a line of people in a row. But you have to use that as the last card in your turn because otherwise you'll discard all the other cards in your hand.
Okay.
So there's like, as I said, there's tactical playoffs and there's like, okay, if I play that now and I play this now. There's also the environment's a bit weird. Like it's kind of lost some of the verticality that you had in XCOM in terms of, you had a height advantage for shooting down at someone and stuff like that. But they've added a few other elements to it. Like there are parts of the environment where you can knock people into and you'll have a chance of knocking them. You will always knock them back, but if you knock them back into an object, you can hurt them. If you knock them back into a off the edge of a roof, or there's one where you fight on a roof and it's got windows on roofs. I'm lacking the word for some reason, but
windows on roofs, skylights.
Skylights, that's the thing. If you knock them into the open skylight or smash the skylight by knocking them through it, it gives you a percentage chance of that possibly happening. So you can actually go, all right, that guy's really powerful and it's going to take me a lot of hits to do that. But if I knock him back into that thing, then I could kill him instantly by knocking him into there. You can also create your own versions of that with certain characters, Ghost Rider being one of them, that he can
Bob the Builder.
Like make a hellmouth and you can knock people into that hellmouth. So and stuff like that. So there's things that really kind of align well with the characters that give you a tactical element. There's also just things in the environment that you can kick or throw at people if they're like a certain distance away. And you get one free move per turn where you can move a character independent of their cards and actually then possibly pick something up for free and throw it at someone as well. There's also tactical hits that you can do where they'll get refunded as a card move if you killed someone with it. And all the kind of minion level Hydra characters and other like enemy characters that you face, literally there'll be one hit, one kill. So you just need to make sure that you're hitting them and they'll die, basically. There's also other things that happen, like in the Venom fight, he'll web. They don't call it webbing, but they kind of he webs people up and binds them so that they can't move. And if you hit your friendly character with any hit, that'll unbind them so that they can then act as well, basically. So, so yeah, things that chain between various targets that a few characters can do, like Spider-Man and Blade, are quite good for those sorts of fights because you can free someone and then chain to another one to knock out a minion, and then that might refund it if it's a quick move, as they call it, so that it doesn't count against your card count, so that you've still got 3 cards you can play that turn on top of that as well. And blending all those things together becomes quite tactical, and you can do a lot more than just playing those 3 cards would initially suggest as well, basically.
So, Tim,
yes,
the other question I have, a much low I risk a half-hour conversation about menus with you.
Yes.
Here. One of the things for me that I've always found a little bit of a drag in, like, in the XCOM games that Firaxis has done before, and it sounds like this has it as well as is the kind of the macro level management of your base and all of these things, which I frankly have always found a bit tedious. So I'm assuming such a thing is there.
Yes, I will preface this
guessing.
again a little bit with that. I always really liked the base building in XCOM. It's an element I really gravitated towards.
I just wanted to see the guns go pew pew.
Yeah, I may be different to most people. I've heard a lot of people say, again, I really enjoy this game, but I can entirely understand why all of this is about to sound off-putting to a lot of people. But I've heard some people say that you will spend a half of the time in the Abbey and a half of the time in combat. And so far, at least, I think I'm opening up to the point where there's a bit more combat in the game, where there's side missions and other missions that I can do. But the fact that you can't do 2 missions in a row without returning to the Abbey and doing 2 phases in the Abbey for every 1 combat phase that you can do, I think will be slightly off-putting to some people, because there's a daytime phase to the Abbey and there's a nighttime phase to the Abbey. And the daytime phase is generally kind of hanging around with people and going doing activities and raising your friendship level and upgrading your cards and going to Tony and Dr. Spooky, as they call Dr. Strange, but and kind of upgrading things and upgrading different equipment and upgrading your not so much your cards in there, that's done somewhere else, getting all the components and things, because there's other one-off use things you can use in combat and you can fabricate them and make more of them and do more research, and that's all kind of one phase of things. And you can train with people, and there's lots of like inter-friendship things going on there. And then there's a whole other side of things where you can like explore the Abbey. And the Abbey and the surrounding grounds, more precisely, are huge. I was really glad when they revealed there was a fast travel system between them, because I was
thank
oh
gosh.
my word!
Right,
but it is so big and extensive that it's a major portion of the game. And from everything that I've just said there, if someone was describing that to me, I'd be like, I'm gonna hate that so much. And I kind of wish they'd have, I do like it and I do enjoy it, but I kind of wish they'd simplified it and gone, you know what, that's a nice idea, but nah, let's take that idea out, and let's not have paintings that you can move, and let's not have the room upgrades and stuff like that. I would have liked them to simplify what they did. I think they they kind of went, no, that's a good idea. Let's throw that out. Let's throw this out. And there's so many different things you can pick up and essences that are just floating around and different like puzzles and stuff. And I kind of like the open world nature of it and exploring around the Abbey grounds and finding the secrets. And I kind of like that thing. And there's a little hellhound you can pet and you get upgrades for that and all types of stuff as well. And there's lots of like arcane knowledge you can find out by reading things in the library or petting your hellhound and doing it. But there's just so much of it. Like there's so many different things that I wish they'd focus that a little bit more and concentrated on the combat a little bit more than they have, basically. But that said, I still am really enjoying it.
How is the dialogue? Is it kind of all right, or is it, because I've kind of heard rumours it's trying a bit too hard in some places?
Right, I will say I'm enjoying it and I like it. That said, I've already got to the point where I'm like, yeah, sorry, I'm going to skip all of this. I'm going to skip all of this discussion stuff as much as possible. I'm going to skip reading a lot of this stuff. And it's not that I'm not a fan of it. As I said, there's just too much of it. Like, I just wish they just slimmed it down a little bit and had like, there's the meetings when you go out and do stuff. That's all fine, but make that a one-off thing that happens once, not something you can repeatedly do. Like, I've been bird watching with 2 different people in different parts of the ground.
Whoa, what?
Yeah.
Dude, there's a world to save. What the hell are you doing bloody getting your ornithology on?
And
what the heck?
I mean,
why?
Like, playing video games as Blade, that's kind of cool, I guess. That's all right. Like,
all
that's
right.
fine.
Let's get to one. Who's going bird watching? Who's off the superhero list? Who's going bird watching?
And it's just a bit weird. Like the whole thing's a bit. I've been fishing with Robbie Reyes twice.
God, why?
Yeah, like what? What are you doing?
Why?
Like I said, there's a lot of good stuff in there. I just wish they'd gone, you know what, this is good, but it's not great, so let's cut it out, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
But just as long as you don't end up in the car park going dogging with Steve Rogers, I think it's probably all right.
It's perfectly okay. Also, one thing I have to say, as much as I do like the game, and it's not graphically like massively ugly, but at the same time,
but it's not overly pretty either.
Nah, like for a PS5 game, and I've been playing it on PS5, I should mention, it sure looks very mid-era or maybe early-era PS4 at best, kind of thing. Like, I wish they'd cut out half of the Abbey and spent more time polishing the graphics, because I think that would have benefited the game immensely. All that said, there's something I quite like about the formula in general. The combat is really good, and a lot of people have kind of alluded to that as well. Because I don't know, I watched a few reviews myself going in because I was a bit like, I don't know. I'm glad that I purchased it.
In that exact voice, Tim?
In that exact voice.
I don't know. I can't make a decision. Help me. Help.
It was like, I think 65. I got the base version of it.
Ooh.
I'm not going to give them extra money until, I wasn't going to give them the extra money for the DLC until I'm sure that's going to be something I like. But I can see me sticking with this game for a while and playing through it. As I said, I wish they'd left a bit more on the cutting room floor and polished it a bit, but there's a lot there for me to like, and I can see me playing a lot more of it and enjoying it, basically.
Do you think it's going to have that replay value? I mean, one of the things about XCOM was that kind of, I mean, for want of a better way of putting it, like your army of soldiers was slightly faceless insofar as you could make them have their own identity. You chose everything about them, but because obviously you've got established characters,
yes,
in the form of kind of like the Marvel pantheon of heroes and villains, obviously, who you're facing off against. Is there still that element? Does it feel like it could be more customizable? Can you really make your team feel like your own?
Kind of, yes. Like, there are different costumes and things which, you can worry about that, how much you like, but there's different colour schemes you can have to those costumes and different variety of different costumes. There's so many different things in there that I haven't mentioned half of the things that I could have gone on about. One of them is there was a whole almost light side, dark side mechanic kind of thing going on. So you can be a bit of a git to everyone around you, and that will kind of make more dark sidey type thing.
Wash your mouth out.
But that will, I was trying to save Coleman from having to edit. But there's there's lots of like things where you're like, well, that kind of doesn't seem in keeping with my character, but I guess if I'm the daughter of someone that's very evil, that might work. But that would possibly appeal me to some of the more characters like Magic and stuff. I think that would appeal to a bit more. Like Blade doesn't mind you joking around with him, but he's a bit funny when you're joking and stuff like that. But there's a whole like decision thing where like people ask for help and you have to kind of give them a kind of inspiring type answer, or the no, you should be, you know, nose to the grindstone, doing everything you can to really kind of go after things. Or so there's definite like I'm going down the light side path, and I could replay the whole game again and go down the dark side and see how that kind of plays out. And there's enough like decision making there, but I could see me wanting to play through the combat again. I'm not so sure I want to play through all of the Abbey stuff once again, basically, especially after you've already solved the environmental puzzles and other stuff going on. But I'll see how that plays out when I've, completed the game. Okay. I mean, I'm not one for massively going back and replaying a game, although I did complete XCOM and start playing again a few times. I don't think I ever completed a second run through. But yeah, they've definitely tried to at least breathe some life into the fact that you might want to play it more than once, basically.
So there we go. So that sounds like a bit of a definite buy from you then, Tim.
Yes, but with some caveats and some things I wish they did slightly differently, but it definitely appeals to me. Okay. And I see the valid concerns that some people had going in, but I don't think they're massive concerns that will stop you from having a good time with the game. And I've seen a few other people saying similar type things as well when they're playing through it as well. So yeah, I like it.
Yeah, fair enough.
It may not to give any spoilers, but it may not be the Marvel game that makes my game of the year list. But put it that way, we'll have to see. I'll play through it a bit more and see what happens.
Fair enough. So I mean, there has obviously been some news. We've talked about what we've done played, or what Tim's done played anyway.
Mostly.
So since we're running a bit long, we're just going to go very quickly through two news topics, which I think are of interest. First of all, in the ongoing saga that is Microsoft trying to buy Activision and them trying to mollify government agencies about it not being an anti-competitive thing, Microsoft have now vowed to bring Call of Duty to Nintendo, a 10-year commitment to bring it to Nintendo, no less. So that's going to be interesting.
The one thing I want to know there, I saw this reported. Do we know if Nintendo want Call of Duty to be on the Switch?
They might not. They might just go, you know what? Keep it to yourself, mate.
Really suitors, actually. Thanks.
Yeah.
Press triangle to pay respects. Maybe not. Thanks.
Yeah, exactly. So that, but presumably to me, I'm just being cynical. Strikes me as a bit of a move to go, hey, look, we're not going to keep all the good stuff for ourselves, guys. Don't we really want to? We want to give it to Nintendo. Nintendo, as you rightly say, might just be like, yeah, we're good, thanks.
Yeah, no,
we're
fine.
All good.
That's okay.
We're all good.
Yeah.
And in other Xbox news, and I think we've all seen this coming, there is sadly, much like everything else in this world, a price hike incoming for first-party titles. I mean, I think this has been one of the things that I've noticed in picking up games on the PlayStation as opposed to the Xbox.
Yeah.
Things seem a bit more expensive on the PlayStation, but it sounds I think this will bring stuff in line with first-party pricing on the PlayStation. So I think that's going to be going forward. So that will be specifically games built for the Xbox series of console. So like Forza Motorsport, Redfall, Starfield, they're going to all cost $70 at launch. No news on UK prices, but I would imagine you're going to see a tenner added to things.
I also imagine that we'll probably see third-party things fall in line with that as well. No, I would imagine the third parties have probably been asking Microsoft to do that as well, basically.
Absolutely. But I mean, I think I think that in some ways also may funnel more people into Xbox Game Pass.
It makes it a better deal all the time. So yeah.
It does, doesn't it? And maybe that's a bit of the end game there as well. Maybe there's an element of cost recovery too. So there we go. Anyway, that is your lot. We are running long, and poor old Coleman's got to edit this absolute dumpster fire of a show. So we are going to start drawing things to a close, but not before I remind you to go to tpublic.com/store/BRB, where you can buy some sweet, sweet merch to adorn your body and other bits of stuff with. put stickers on things. Things you own, of course.
Yes.
But you can put stickers on stuff. You can drink out of a mug with my face on it, a mug on a mug, and all kinds of awesome T-shirt designs, especially those by our resident top chap and lover of pigeons,
Also,
Bleezy Boy.
Tabletop Tuesday t-shirt.
Thank you, Bleezy.
Available on my chest right now.
And Tabletop Tuesday. And talking in Tabletop Tuesdays, Tim. Tuesdays.
Yes.
It's in the build up to Christmas, so presumably there might be a bit of a change in schedule coming up. But is next Tuesday a Tuesday?
Next Tuesday is a Tuesday, although next Tuesday is also a tube strike Tuesday or a train strike Tuesday. So that's a bit difficult. I was actually ill enough that I wasn't at this week's Tabletop Tuesday, which I was really sad about. It was one of my friend's birthdays, and she kind of took over hosting as in my absence. So thank you very much for Elena for doing that, and a very happy birthday and many happy returns, as I didn't get to see you on the evening on your birthday.
Happy birthday.
So that was a bit of a shame. But we had a really good game called Oceans. It's in the Evolution series and looks very good. Unfortunately, with the train strike, I don't think it's fair to have a feature game this week, because a lot of our regular fans won't be able to get there and have already told me they'll not be attending next week. Although in previous weeks where there's been a train strike, we have actually ended up with a reasonably high attendance. Possibly try and do an event. I'll see how...
It's because everyone's stuck in East London.
Well, yeah, because that's the thing. Everyone's stuck there anyway and they can't go and travel elsewhere. So a lot of people end up in Tabletop Tuesday anyway, or in Loading Bar in Stoke Newington. If you are local to that area and can come join us, or if you're not frightened by train strikes, please do come and join us. We will try and put on an event. There just won't be a feature game for that week because it's difficult to predict how many people will come along. So we don't. I think it's unfair to throw a feature game to the wolves in that manner. So we won't have a regular feature game this week. If you want to check out more details of Tabletop Tuesday in general, you can do so on the top left-hand corner of BigRedBarrel.com, or also join the over 2,000 members of our meetup group on meetup.com. Search for Tabletop Tuesdays.
So even whilst there's no feature game, miscellaneous fun and larks.
Yeah, we'll just be playing the games we already have, and sometimes, Dan, that's fun enough.
That's what you need.
Yes.
Absolutely. And that is at Loading Bar.
At Loading Bar, Stoke Newington.
Stoke Newington. Splendid. And as Tim kind of alluded to there, if you're wondering where to find all of these things, make sure you head to www.bigredbarrel.com, twitter.com/bigredbarrel. Haven't got a Mastodon sorted. I don't quite know how that works yet. But Twitter for the moment.
Someone did offer that we could have our own Mastodon server if we wanted. I hadn't mentioned that to you.
We have enough trouble keeping one server chugging along at the moment, so let's not complicate things. You'll find links to all of those things in the show notes that Coleman has lovingly handcrafted alongside this episode, alongside a link to our Discord where you can pop along and say hello. I'm afraid since we're running long, we don't have time for questions, but we will make sure we get through a couple in the next couple of episodes. If there's any Christmas-themed questions, go chuck them in the BRB UK Lounge.
Christmas time.
And it'd be always good to hear from you. Christmas time, mistletoe and wine, and stuff.
Any Christmas things, any end-of-year stuff, any Game of the Year stuff, get those questions in the next couple of weeks and we'll try and answer them. Or in the next week, in fact.
Yes, next week, within the next week, because we are probably going to do a slightly cheeky bit of pre-recording, shall we say, to make sure we can all enjoy a bit of time off over Christmas ourselves. So, there we go. That's your lot. We're done with the show. And that means all that's really left is for me to remind you that I've been Dan.
I might have been ill Tim, not to be confused with Tiny Tim.
And Coleman is so chaotic, he's not even here.
That is ultimate chaos. Said he might join us.
Ultimate chaos.
Hasn't even done so. No sign of Coleman, unless is he already
that
here? Is he here? Do we know? Anyone? I don't know.
It's a chaos flex.
Yeah.
It is the ultimate chaos flex. So there we go.
He's all around
Righty ho.
us.
That is your lot, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us. Please, no, Tim, no. All right, you've had enough time in front of the microphone now. We're going to end this show. Thank you ever so much for listening, and until next time, dear listeners, toodle bye.
He is the force that binds us.
You and your ears are quite welcome. For the podcasting goodness that you just heard, why not roll on over to BigRedBarrel.com for more podcasts, news, reviews, and videos from the biggest, reddest site on the internet, BigRedBarrel.com.
Like,
What?
I'm gonna get into my whip.
Right. One is going to get into one's perambulatory machine. Yep. Gotcha.
Tell me, rude boy, are you Zim Zimmer? Who's got the keys to my bimmer?